Hello, this is J9LP and welcome to another special installment of my views on E3. This time we're going to be talking about Nintendo I mean digital event, which is obviously what I've been doing since the last E3 in 2014. They're not doing conferences anymore. It's all now, I suppose you can call them glorified directs. But this one has been, well, as you could probably have told by the reaction from a lot of the internet, not as well received in any sense. Of course, this is coming after the Sony conference, which, as you know, pretty much knocked it out of the park, and it was kind of hard to see how anyone would kind of follow that up. And Nintendo, well, simply a question of whether they even tried or not. But I think I'll leave that comments on that later. I think we just want to know my views on what actually happened in the digital event. So I did see a bit of the Treehouse event, and I saw the first thing that we'll actually talk about. I might as well just go straight onto the games and then talk about what I thought of the whole thing overall, because I think we all know what it actually started, is those who actually seen it from the start. But I think I want to talk about the actual game first, and the game that was revealed first was Star Fox Wii U. Well, it's not called Star Fox Wii U now we know that the actual title of the game is Star Fox Zero, which seems to me to smack of prequel. But onto what I thought of the game. I mean, from what I could tell, like I said, I saw it in the Treehouse, most of the controls are through the gamepad, and the way it's done is like it's a first person view, so you do all your aiming and shooting on the gamepad, and you can use the other buttons to change your viewpoint to see what's around you on the big screen and give a better view of the area. And the first thing that I kind of noticed about it was how small the ship was on the screen, on the TV screen. And it's kind of interesting, because when you usually see Star Fox games, you're sort of behind the ship in your first person view into the screen, and it takes up quite a bit, but just enough to be able to see everything else around you. And of course it gets much bigger when you sort of slow down. But I noticed in Star Fox Zero, the ship seems pretty damn small. You can see a heck of a lot around you, and that I think is pretty cool from a gameplay standpoint, in that you can actually easily able to track what's going on around you. Of course, the thing here is there's the other sort of caveat, which is kind of similar to another game that was released fairly recently, Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, in which most of the action is happening on screen, but then you usually keeping your eye and doing all your movement on the gamepad. Now with Kirby Rainbow Curse, it's kind of different because you're controlling Kirby directly on the gamepad, and so that's why you're keeping your eye on it to draw those patterns and stuff like that. But with Star Fox Zero, you're using the gyro controller, it seems, to do most of the steering and aiming. You know, so in that sense, it's not necessarily directly comparable, and I think, you know, Splatoon kind of proves that you can actually have good gyro controls for aiming and stuff like that, even though that one's rather limited anyway because it's only on the y-axis. But this one seems to be kind of all axes, as it were, so it would be kind of interesting to see if the gyro controls work here. I must say, there seems to be a lot of people really miffed that it's all controlled by the gamepad, and doesn't seem to be any pro control support or anything like that. But then again, I think that was just what we heard. We might hear more details later on. about that. Another kind of really interesting thing is that the Arwing now transforms into a walker, and it looks like a giant chicken walking around going okay, I'm being silly here, but when I first looked at it I was like, what the heck is going on? Apparently though, as we heard during the presentation, it was actually a feature that was in Star Fox 2 and they brought it in this game, so that's alright. If it works okay, I'm not having much of a problem with that. I was actually concerned that you weren't going to get Landmaster with that. It was actually going to replace the Landmaster, but as it turns out, Landmaster is actually in the game, along with a new vehicle, which looks like a kind of a drone, where that will actually allow you to control a little Rob-like robot thing that will do some sort of covert tasks for you. So I thought, yeah, that was interesting, and it all looks, well, I don't know, when I first saw some reactions on YouTube and other places, people thought that there were people going like, oh, it looks like an N64 game, it looks absolutely terrible. I don't think it looks that bad, especially with the scale of everything. I think it works really well. You know, all I was concerned about is that if you could see everything on the screen, and it all runs cleanly and at a really smooth frame rate. I'm hoping it's a 60 frames per second. I've seen some screenshots of it as well. It looks like it's 1080p, although I can't necessarily be too sure about that, but it looks really sharp as well, and it looks fine to me. It doesn't look absolutely mind-blowingly beautiful, it has to be said, but it looks, it looks functional. It does the job. You still got that sense of scale, of battles. Nothing's too overwhelming. It's all really colourful. And the only thing I'm a little bit irked about was the design of the characters themselves. When I first saw the design of Fox McCloud, I was like, kill it with fire! Ew! Just looked kind of scary, in all honesty. It looked pretty freaky, and that was based on like the designs in Star Fox Command from there, and I was never really a fan of that one, to be honest. They seem to have just kept with it and just put hair all over it, which my thoughts on that, I mean, from certain sort of CGI cartoons, they do all this kind of CGI cartoon and put real fur all over it, and it doesn't look great to me. I'm kind of against putting sort of real gritty stuff on something that looks like a cartoon, unless it works, unless it's like, say, oh, I don't know, Rango, where they actually managed to pull it off quite well. But the Star Fox character design there looks kind of really weird. I don't know, it looks okay in the heads-up display. The little characters actually seem to have proper lip sync now, which is pretty welcome. And the game, gameplay-wise, looks promising. I'm not going to hold out that much hope. I heard Platinum actually co-developed it, but it seems like they took more care of the graphics and the art design more than anything else. The actual game design was still by Nintendo, so there's some hope there, and it's still to be on course for holiday 2015, so it almost seems like it's a big holiday title, which I don't know. I'm not sure if I see Star Fox as a big holiday title, to be honest, but we'll see. I mean, if it's good, and it certainly looks good, I'll definitely get it. I'm always down for some more Star Fox, as long as it's not like Command. I'll say no more about that. So on to the next thing, and it's about, well, we thought it was about Amiibo at one point, but apparently it's talking about the unprecedented third-party partnership and it turns out to be Skylanders. The new Skylanders Superchargers game from Activision will have something that's exclusive to Nintendo platforms, and that is Nintendo-based characters as Skylanders figures. So essentially, yeah, that's more, you can almost sense that is more amiibo, and it actually is in a sense. So it'll be Skylander characters and figures for this game, which is called Skylanders Superchargers, and they'll have a little switch underneath the panel which will actually allow it to have the same functionality as amiibo. So those figures will actually function as amiibo for other games as well as the characters in Skylanders, which I thought was, well, it's kind of interesting considering that there apparently was a thing going around saying that Activision once approached Nintendo with the idea of Skylanders and sort of doing a partnership with them, and Nintendo was like, well, we're not necessarily too sure about it, and Activision probably just went, hey, fair enough, and they launched Skylanders, and it's turned out to be the big money spinner, another big money spinner from Activision that we know today, and Toys to Life has taken off in a big way since then. And obviously Disney joined in the fray with Disney Infinity. Recently Lego got in the act, and obviously that was after Nintendo brought out the Amiibo, which is having a fairly different effect, not necessarily in a good way in all honesty. But yeah, so this seems to be what Nintendo seems to be banking on in terms of third-party support. Is it a good thing? I don't know. I'm not into Skylanders, and I'm not into all of this amiibo stuff. So from my point of view, I'm kind of standoffish about that thing. I don't really have an opinion. I'm not going to say I don't really care, but it doesn't really concern me all that much, although it does kind of concern me in terms of what Nintendo is actually doing with the Amiibo, but we'll talk about that later on. So there's another new Zelda title for the 3DS, which will make it its fourth Zelda title out for the 3DS, and this is Zelda Trifles Heroes, which is kind of like Four Swords, only there's not four of them, there's three of them, which is obviously why I didn't call it Four Swords, they call it Trifles, because there's three triangles in the Trifles, and apparently the reasoning they gave for that was a bit odd, but as you probably can guess, it's a 3-player co-op type Zelda, using the Link Between Worlds engine and using that same kind of viewpoint, and the character design is reminiscent of Wind Waker, or the Wind Waker style that they used in the DS Zelda games, Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks. What actually happens is that you can actually pick each other up in the same way that you can in Four Swords and Four Swords Adventures, but in this case you can actually stack players on top of each other to form a totem, which will allow you to reach high places to actually activate switches or hit bosses and stuff like that. And that apparently was their reasoning for only using 3, because they said if it used 4 it wouldn't work as well, which I thought was kind of interesting. I suppose in one sense, if you had more than 3 characters on the screen, you might not be able to get as much interesting stuff on. I don't know how that would work. It seems to be a 3DS game and not a new 3DS exclusive. I don't think there actually been any new 3DS exclusive games, at least in this showcase, in this digital event. So that's a thing, I suppose. So what do I think of this? Well, it's Zelda and it's multiplayer and it's going to be fun. Four Swords and Four Swords Adventures was pretty damn fun. The fact that it's only 3 now will probably make it a little bit less fun, but you can also play against each other, not just locally. I think you can play it online as well, so that's going to be interesting. Yeah, I haven't got much more to say about that, apart from the fact that you can dress Link as Princess Zelda. Yes, there's a bit of cross-dressing involved. Oh, okay. That's interesting and fun, I suppose, and I suppose that's the important thing, is that it's fun. But I suppose other people might have been expecting a bit more from the title. Still on the subject of Zelda, the Hyrule Warriors 3DS game is actually titled Hyrule Warriors Legends, and this is again a port of the Wii U Musou or Dynasty Warriors clone that was released for the Wii U last year. And this includes all of the characters, including all of the characters in the DLC that was on the Wii U. So it basically has everyone in it, including the 2 new characters, which is kind of exclusive to the 3DS, but you can actually use them on the Wii U as well via transfer. And that is Tetra from Wind Waker and the King of Red Lions, also from Wind Waker, although he's in the human form there. Although you do see his boat form in the game at some point, using lots of watery attacks. It looks, well, like I said before, if you wouldn't actually thought it would work being on the 3DS, and this isn't a new 3DS, it doesn't use the extra power of the new 3DS for all that stuff. It's actually an original 3DS title as well. But you need to remember that there was actually the Samurai Warriors games released on the 3DS before, so it's pretty much using that same engine, and it looks alright. You know, I think I'm down for some portable Hyrule Warriors. Although personally I haven't got the Wii U game as yet, but I might be tempted to the 3DS one. Don't know, I might play them both. Who knows? I still haven't got the Xenoblade 3D yet. I have to think about that, because I'm still going through Xenoblade on the Nintendo Wii, and that is a pretty damn hefty game, I can tell you that right now. So given that, maybe I will end up getting the Xenoblade 3D on the 3DS, because I might have some more time to play it on the actual bus and stuff like that. Well, we'll see what happens with both of those titles. So far, yeah, okay, I suppose. Star Fox is pretty awesome. The Skylanders thing is whatever. Zelda Trifles looks fun. Hyrule Warriors, again, looks okay. And then we heard a Metroid title is coming out. It's Metroid Prime Federation Force for the 3DS. Yeah. I gotta be totally honest and upfront with you. Memories of Metroid Prime Hunters, which I avoided. I didn't bother with it. I gave it one look, saw the content in that and thought, okay, well, it's a first-person shooter on the DS that uses a touchscreen. It's just not my bag. And this isn't that much better, really. So it's a 4-player missions-based shooter in the vein of Metroid Prime Hunters, like I said before. And the Blast Ball game that they were showing in the Nintendo World Championship that they had in one of the contests, yeah, it's from that game. It's a fun kind of diversion in that one. And it looks probably as you would expect it to look, although it's kind of weird, kind of chibi style for the all Federation things. I'm not seeing much Metroid in there, and to me it just looks like another shooter. Yeah, this isn't the Metroid we wanted, or the Metroid Prime we asked for, I'm afraid. It didn't say anything about any Metroid coming out on the Wii U, so it almost seems like they're done with it. That was, to me, the first big disappointment of this conference, or sorry, this digital event. in that it seems Nintendo are taking Metroid in a direction that a lot of us don't like. You know, they already started that with Other M, with the crazy story and all of this weird retconning that happened. I still personally think the game was alright, it's just everything else that was surrounding it was just daft. And now with this one, yeah, it's not what we wanted, man. It's not feeling it at all. But let's move on from that, shall we? So Fire Emblem If, that's already out in Japan, which is a new Fire Emblem title for the 3DS, will be known as Fire Emblem Fates in the West, and there will be a proper localization with English voice acting and text, and probably a slight change in the story, and that's coming out in 2016, and well, what can I say, it's Fire Emblem. It seems to be a heck of a lull of Fire Emblem kind of recently after the success of Awakening. And I'm kind of glad, because Fire Emblem is actually a really interesting title to me, and to kind of see it developed on and pull out there is good, you know, and you know, it's plays to the strengths of the developer who's working on it, Intelligent Systems. They seem to be pretty into this sort of thing, which I suppose a lot of you are thinking, if that's the case, why haven't we seen another Advance Wars title? And I say to that, yeah, I agree. I think the last one was, I forget what the last one was, but it was kind of a more gritty, sort of darker Advance Wars. And I kind of enjoyed that, but I kind of wanted to go back to the sort of cheerful vibe that they had from the first Advanced Wars and Famicom Wars and all of that kind of stuff that they had before. They seem to have not been bothering with that now, and sticking with Fire Emblem. And like I said, I don't mind, I kind of like Fire Emblem. It's developed into a very strong IP, and yeah, that's good to see more of that. Well, I wouldn't mind seeing another decent Metroid game. Well, that's not coming from Intelligent Systems, so anyway, I'm not going to faff about that, but yeah, that's actually going to come out in 2016. I think early 2016, that title will be coming out, and it will be, again, in two forms, because there's actually a story involving two sides, and it seems like you get to pick which side you're on in that one. So, yeah, it's an artificial way to boost sales if you want to play both of them. Yeah, that's how it dodgy. I think there might be dual packs as well. This is all crazy. This is a bit like what they're doing with the Pokemon series now, isn't it? Another way for the money spinner. Sounds all a bit cynical if you ask me, but you know, at least if the game is good, and you know, it seems there's a lot of enhancements in that seem to make it a bit more accessible. Whether you feel about that, if you're like a purist and you're kind of down on that and don't like that at all, or whether you would welcome it and have more people share the world of Fire Emblem, that's to you. I personally don't mind, as long as we, you know, still get the hard kind of permadeath stuff in the game, you know, because that's what Fire Emblem is known for. That's fine with me, whatever. It's just a mode, it's an option. More options are good. So, following that, Shin Megami Tensei vs Fire Emblem, or X-Fire Emblem title, that was announced a fair ways back and showcased in Nintendo Direct a couple of months back. Showed up again here, and it looks nice, but I still don't know what it is. What is it? You know, it's obviously an RPG. It seems to be based in this school and going to these other worlds and these tournaments, and you're fighting against each other. You're fighting some demons. There's some kind of Fire Emblem-esque characters in there. There's lots of school uniforms and the usual kind of anime fare. But what is it? I'm still scratching my head about that. I still don't get it. You get some kind of Persona vibe there as well, but even that isn't much, and it's just like, okay, it looks nice, but yeah. I don't know, it looks the part. I think as soon as more details arise out of it, and we'll see what that is. I'm a bit nonplussed as to what it is at the moment, and if I want it or not. But then, still on the stage of RPGs, if that last title wasn't even an RPG again, I still don't know. Xenoblade Chronicles X has been confirmed to be localized for the West and will be coming, at least to the US, as far as I know. Of course, this is E3, it's based around the US stuff, or North America stuff, for 4th of December this year. So it is going to be a 2015 title, and it looks good. It was already released in Japan in April, and it sold fairly well. It's a Wii U title called, and the kind of early impressions and reviews I heard from people who already got it in Japan have been kind of mixed, because it's very much in the same sort of vein as Xenoblade, which for all intents and purposes is an RPG, and it's open world, and a lot of the gameplay in it is kind of similar to sort of MMOs, but kind of simplified in a way. Xenoblade, I'm kind of enjoying it at the moment because of the story and just the sprawling worlds that actually go on it, but it is a very big game, and Xenoblade X seems to be much bigger and has a lot more going on. And of course you've got the point where you can actually ride huge mechs called dolls and have access to even more of the open world, and of course you've got the big city, the new LA and stuff like that. The surrounding world looks absolutely marvellous. There's a lot of really imaginative creatures in there, but I think some people are complaining that the story wasn't as compelling, and that the side quests, that there actually have a lot of side quests, kind of drag on a bit and are a little bit in the way. So the consensus seems to be that it's still a pretty good game, but it's not quite Xenoblade. Well, it is Xenoblade, but it's not quite as good. But that's the Japanese release. We'll see what happens when it actually gets localized, if things improve in that sense. I'm just gonna have to see, and there might even be more content by that point. There'll actually be DLC released on it for over in Japan for a while, so we'll have to see what happens when it's actually released pretty near the holiday season, and that's coming for the Wii U. Now to something that my sister would possibly be a fan of, and that's, well, she's a big fan of it. I know she's got New Leaf and she hasn't stopped playing that game yet. Yes, I am of course talking about Animal Crossing, a game that was already featured in one of the Nintendo Direct, I think it was April, I think it was a new 3DS title called Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer. And this uses some amiibo functionality, but in this case, you can either use amiibo or you can get little cards. This is the kind of the debut of cards that you can get rather than figurines that cost you apparently an arm and a leg to get, because they're so goddamn hard to get half the time. But yeah, you'll get cards that will actually allow you to bring in new characters in your sort of newly furnished homes. This is all about kind of furnishing and interior design and arrangement and stuff like that. It's almost like an app really, but it's more of a game. And that's for the 3DS, which is dated for 25th of September. And yeah, it looks alright, or I suppose. I'm not sure if my sister would be a big fan of that. I think she'd probably be more into a proper Animal Crossing title. And that brings me to, well, what I thought would be the inevitable Animal Crossing title for the Wii U, because I thought it was going to be inevitable at this point. And what it turns out to be is something called Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival, which is a Mario Party type Animal Crossing game that has amiibo functionality. So it's not a normal Animal Crossing game, it's a party game, and it has amiibo. Yeah, two things that I'm just not interested in. I'm not into amiibo. It's not anything that's going to be attractive. I'm not even sure if my sister, she doesn't collect amiibo at all. She hasn't picked any ones of them up yet. Maybe she'll do some of the Animal Crossing ones, but other than that, yeah, I don't know if she's gonna like this at all. I'm not too keen myself. Anyways, that's going to be released on the holiday season as well, and I don't know, it's Animal Crossing, it might do well, but I'm not a fan, and I'm not sure as other people seem to be fans either. I'll have to see more what it looks like, but from what I've seen at the moment, it's Animal Crossing. It looks very much like Animal Crossing. The enhancements it's seen on the Wii U graphics are just high definitions and some shadows and, you know, a bit of interesting lighting and stuff like that. Other than that, it looks pretty much identical to New Leaf. And yeah, this seems to be familiar, doesn't it? This seems to have happened before with the Animal Crossing title on the Wii. Well, we're never going to get a more than graphically enhanced version of Animal Crossing, aren't we? Yeah, we got shadows now. Whoopee-doo. I don't know. Yeah, that was another big disappointment. And, so let's just move on from that one. And we did get another look at Yoshi's Woolly World, which still looks fantastic. And looking forward to that, but I'm not going to cover that now because it's a game we've seen many times before, and it's coming out. Well, it's coming out really soon. It's coming out in July over in Europe, so I'll be getting my hands on it pretty soon. But in the US, or in North America, it's actually been announced to be released in October the 16th. Which, funnily enough, is my birthday. Yay! If it was that saying that over here, I don't know what I'd feel, in all honesty. But yeah, you'll be enjoying Yoshi's Woolly World over there on my birthday. Not necessarily a birthday present to me, because I'd have had the game already and played it sooner or later. And for Pete's sake, Nintendo, please, just get rid of the region lock, please. God damn it. Hashtag no more region locking. Pete's sakes, honestly, you know, that's the thing. I would have been happy about that if we all got it at the same time, but I suppose, well, people didn't really want to wait until the 16th of October, and right now are telling me to shut the f*** up. But no, okay, look, the game's coming out soon for you guys. Don't bleeding more shout at me, you bunch of tosspots. Look, you know, it's not my fault. You know, talk to Nintendo about this and get them to get rid of this chopping region locking malarkey, because it's just goddamn depressing. But yeah, Yoshi's Woolly World still looks great, and I have a confession to make about that. Yeah, I am getting an amiibo for that, just because it looks so adorable. It really does. An actual yarn Yoshi just looks great. I'm already a big fan of Yoshi. I had to have that. But that's it. That's all the amiibo you're getting out of me. That's all the amiibo you're having out of me, apart from maybe the squid amiibo that I got with Splatoon. But that's all. That's it. That is it. No more from me. However, there was more to the digital event, and they showcased Yokai Watch, which had been in Japan for the 3DS for quite some time. I think it was released in 2013, the first game came out on. And yep, 2 years later, we're getting it over here. This is a level 5 developed title, and pretty much in the same vein as Pokemon, in that you get to collect, well, in this case, spirits, little ghost creatures, to battle other ghost creatures that you meet along the way. So it's an RPG-esque thing, yeah, very much in the same vein as Pokemon, except you get to find them in different ways through your kind of a watch that will allow you to see spirits in places where other people can't, and yeah, it kind of builds up in that way. So it seems that Yokai Watch will be available to us gauging for the first time in a few years. And as for the game itself, it looks kind of nice. I think at one point I heard it was going to be for a PlayStation title. I think it was going to be a Vita title, but after seeing sales of the Vita, I think they moved it to 3DS, and it didn't take off right away in Japan. I think a lot of people say, well, you know, it wasn't gonna do that great after the first week sales didn't actually set Japan on fire, which was probably a bit of bad taste considering what happened over there back then. But it slowly crept up to be a bit of a sleeper hit, and the consecutive sequels actually went out to be huge hits, and Yokai Watch is pretty much Level 5's latest money spinner over in Japan, so it remains to be seen if this will have the same effect over in the West. We shall see. It looks pretty nice. We'll see what happens with that. Okay, this one's a bit of a weird one. This one took me completely by surprise, and I'm not saying it that took me by surprise in a bad way or in a good way, just in a kind of way. So, a new Mario and Luigi title which features Paper Mario, which is going to be called Mario and Luigi Paper Jam, because we all know that we love some jam on our paper. No, we don't actually, it's absolutely disgusting. But that's going to be the 3DS, and it's going to involve Paper Mario crossing over into the Mario and Luigi world and giving it its paper-like abilities to add some new interesting attacks and kind of another sort of boss type of thing, which is known as Papercraft Mario, which looks almost like the Titan Luigi in Dream Team, except it's just a whopping great big folded Mario character going around the 3D world, crushing paper origami type Goombas and stuff like that. Yeah, to see what that comes out. I have to be completely totally honest with you, the last Mario and Luigi title I played was Bowser's Inside Story, and I did really enjoy that. I saw a bit of Dream Team, and for some reason I wasn't that much of a fan. It didn't make me rush out to buy the game, and I think a lot of people said that it wasn't as good as the last Mario and Luigi titles, which I love. Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga I still think is the best out of all the Mario and Luigi series, and Dream Team I might get further down the line, but it wasn't doing much for me. And Paper Mario, I mean, the first two titles were absolutely fan-freaking-tastic, especially the Thousand Year Door. Apparently Sticker Star, again, that's another thing I avoided because I heard from a lot of people that was actually kind of terrible and not the direction that they wanted Paper Mario to go at all. But this seems to be an amalgamation of the two, and it's kind of like, well, the latest of those two iterations didn't do that well, so what happens when you put them together? Will it just be a complete mess of two things that you didn't want, or will they actually be two things that didn't stand up too well on their own, doing a fusion and becoming absolutely fan-freaking-tastic? Who knows? It certainly looks interesting. You got basically the two versions of like major Mario characters in the game. You got Paper Peach and Paper Bowser facing each other down. That seems to be quite hilarious. I kind of like that idea. It seems fun, as long as the actual game is fun as well. I think that's the more important thing really. But that's another 3DS title, which seemed to let a lot of people down, because I think a lot of people thought that the next Paper Mario was going to be on the Wii U, and there was talk of a Paper Mario title that was going to come out for the Wii U, but that seems to have not surfaced, at least in the digital event here. So, that's another letdown in that regard. Mario and Luigi Paper Jam, not so much of a letdown. It looks interesting, but not what we were expecting, and we were expecting a Wii U title. But what followed that was a Wii U title, and it was a Mario Sports title. This is Mario Tennis Ultra Smash, which is basically another Mario Tennis game, which for the most part has been quite well received. I think the last one for the 3DS, was it the 3DS or the DS, was actually kind of well received as well. And it seems to have some sort of elements from the last good Mario Tennis title in this one. And in this one you can play doubles in a 4-player game, a 2 versus 2 game, and you got super mushrooms, so your characters can be large and take up a fair bit of the ground and have some kind of advantage there. There doesn't seem to be much other details about that, apart from they might not, well, they didn't actually say there was going to be any online multiplayer, but there might not be online multiplayer. And I think it seems to be the same case for Star Fox Wii U, which after the really good online multiplayer games that we got for the Wii U last year and this year, that being Mario Kart 8, Super Smash Bros, and more lately Splatoon, is a bit of a letdown. Although we'll see more details about that. I think IGN confirmed it. I still don't trust what IGN says, but I don't think we can really argue too much about that unless some other details actually show up, whether it's actually going to be patched in or not. But Nintendo still don't seem to think that online is important outside of their flagship titles. And yeah, it's a bit of a shame. But it's a Mario Sports title. I would have preferred a Mario Strikers title, much as I'm not really into football games. I think Mario Strikers Charged kind of hit a lot of right notes. That title that was on the Wii, it looked great, and it seemed to have played okay too. I think that had online as well. I'm not completely totally sure about that, but I think it did. So that hit the right notes. It would be nice to see something like that for the Wii U, but it seems that they're kind of winding down on that for the next major console release, which it seems that, well, we'll definitely hear more of it in 2016, because that's what they said. That's when they said that they will actually reveal more of what NX actually is. But yeah, that seems to be the only other Wii U title that's out, apart from, and this is the last thing they covered in that show, Super Mario Maker. Yes, it's called Super Mario Maker now. It was just called Mario Maker before, but now they called it Super Mario Maker, and that obviously makes a good deal of sense, since that it is essentially based all on the Super Mario Bros. Series. Again, it's a create your own Super Mario levels, which you can actually share with other people through certain channels, and it has the tile sets of Mario games from Super Mario, the original Super Mario Bros., through Mario 3, Super Mario World, and the new Super Mario Bros. Series. And yeah, it looks great. So in the digital event they covered Amiibo, which is like, oh god, please, here we go, more locked content locked behind figurines that cost an arm and a leg if you can't get it. Oh please, none more of this, please. But this one, seems a little interesting. You could use your Amiibo to actually change the character on screen. So if you put in a Link Amiibo, you'll be able to play as Link in Mario Bros. Or if you for a Wii Fit trainer, then you'll have the Wii Fit trainer hopping around and doing a little bit of yoga or Pilates or whatever on screen while squashing Goomba and collecting coins and stuff like that. So that's a nice little interesting touch. The date for that was kind of surprising. It came a lot earlier than I expected. It's already being showcased in Best Buys around the US, which is okay, fair enough. We don't have Best Buys around here in the UK, so that doesn't really mean that much to me, really. But it's coming out on the 11th of September, and I think that's just in the US, but I have to verify that. But it's coming out this year, so that's not the holiday title that everyone was clamouring that it would be, really. And that's okay with me. It doesn't really feel like a holiday title, but then again, neither does Star Fox Wii U, or Star Fox Zero as it's now called. Yeah, it's fair enough. You just kind of wonder if Nintendo's essentially just given up on the Wii U. I think we all know why at this point. But, you know, at least they're still making games for it. And, you know, some of them, you know, especially Star Fox Zero, actually looks pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that. Xenoblade Chronicles X coming out this year as well. Even if it hasn't been well received, it's still Xenoblade and it still looks pretty cool, and it might even be better by the time it comes out here anyway. You know, overall, as you know, for the digital event, this is coming after Sony's mind-blowing conference. It's bound to be a huge letdown, and you know, that's what it was, and you know, especially a huge letdown after last year's E3 event, which had a heck of a lot of things that just came out, you know, from the blue, especially Splatoon. That was the big one. That was like, wow, new IP that actually looks really cool and turns out to be doing really well. In this one, it just seems to be tried and true stuff. A lot of sequels, quite a few ports coming over, just stuff that we expect, and of course more Amiibo. Okay, fine, Nintendo, you know, it's making you money, that's great, that's good for you. For me, I'm not interested, man, not interested. The only good thing for me to come out of that, really, or the two good things for me, well, three, I suppose, was, you know, Star Fox Wii U looking, you know, quite cool. It doesn't look absolutely mind-blowing, but it still looks pretty awesome, you know, and we're getting the Star Fox title. I'm grateful for that. And Hyrule Warriors for the 3DS, you know, take Hyrule Warriors reviews, that seems to be absolutely great. Triforce Warriors, which seems to be, you know, a good old multiplayer Zelda goodness, which I like purely because of the prospect of dressing up Link in the tiara. And Xenoblade Chronicles X confirmed for this year, and Mario Luigi Paper Jam looks at least interesting. Yokai Watch again looks interesting. Yoshi's Woolly's World, while we're getting out here anyway, so we'll be able to get that. But you know, after that, it's just things that either we don't know what it is, or oh, sorry, Fire Emblem, of course. Fire Emblem Fates looks interesting, but again, that's already out in Japan. It's coming out sooner over here. Apart from that, it's just stuff we knew about. The only other thing that it was full of was Muppets. Yes, they had basically the heads of Nintendo, Iwata, Reggie Fils-Aimé and Shigeru Miyamoto running around the place as Muppets. This was their big theme for this digital event. The last one was based around Robot Chicken, and that was a bit more fun. This one to me wasn't as fun, really. You know, I did have a good chuckle at the Star Fox reveal when they all suddenly started morphing into Star Fox characters, but other than that, it totally missed the mark, and along with big letdowns like Animal Crossing not being a proper Animal Crossing and Metroid, yeah, it didn't wow me over. You know, I'm taking good things from this. And honestly, there was actually quite a lot of good things on this, really, to be fair. But other than that, it was a bit of a letdown. Oh well, there's still the Treehouse event, and from what I saw, what they showed of Star Fox Zero there, and that's the kind of the first time I actually saw it, and I thought it looked pretty good. There might be some more things revealed in there, we're just gonna have to see. Okay, well that's enough from me. If you've got your own views on the Nintendo Digital event, or if you've got your own views on my views, feel free to post them in the comments or in the video response if you like. And well, apart from that, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of E3. And I might post some more things after that. I'm sort of giving some impressions and thoughts on the other events and some announcements over that time. Until then, thanks for watching, you've been awesome, and keep on playing, folks.